Hello and welcome to Bible Bites Daily. Today we have reached 1 Kings chapter 9. This is a chapter filled with both promise and warning. After Solomon completes the temple and his royal palace, the Lord appears to him for the second time, just as he did at Gibeon. In this appearance, God acknowledges the dedication of the temple and offers Solomon an important message. The single most important lesson from this chapter is the necessity of staying faithful to God's covenant. While God promises blessings for obedience, He also warns of consequences for turning away. The chapter opens with God appearing to Solomon after Solomon had completed the construction of the temple and his palace. God affirms that He has heard Solomon's prayer and consecrated the temple, setting it apart as His dwelling place. God promises that His eyes and heart will always be on His house. But then God shifts the conversation from blessing to responsibility. He tells Solomon that if he walks before God with integrity, as David did, and if he keeps God's commands, God will establish Solomon's throne forever. However, if Solomon or the people of Israel turn away from God, forsake His commands, and serve other gods, then God will cut Israel off the land. The temple, this magnificent symbol of God's presence, would be destroyed, and Israel would become an object of scorn among the nations. The importance of faithfulness is that the central lesson from this chapter is clear. God desires faithful obedience from His people. His promises are sure, but they are also conditional upon our faithfulness. The blessings of walking with God is immense, but turning away from Him leads to devastating consequences. Solomon was given a unique opportunity. He had the privilege of completing the temple and receiving God's promises firsthand. But even in this moment of great blessing, God reminds Solomon that a relationship with Him requires ongoing faithfulness, not just one-time devotion. As Solomon reflects on this message, that he realizes the weight of responsibility that rests on him. He is not only a king in charge of a nation, but a spiritual leader who must set the examples of faithfulness for the entire nation. For us today, the message remains the same. God calls us to a life of faithfulness, not just in outward actions, but in the heart. Like Solomon, we may have moments of great spiritual achievement, times when we feel especially close to God, or when we accomplish something significant for His kingdom. But God's desire is that we continue walking with Him day by day in obedience and trust. We live in a world full of distractions and temptations that can pull us away from God. The warning to Solomon is a warning for us as well. If we forsake God's ways and pursue idols, whether that be success, material wealth, or anything else that takes God's place in our hearts, we risk losing the blessings of His presence and guidance. But the promise is also sure. If we remain faithful, God will continue to bless us, guide us, and establish us. His eyes and heart will always be upon us, just as they were upon the temple in Solomon's time. Thank you for joining us today. May God bless you all in abundance.